I've had choices since the day that I was born. There were voices that told me right from wrong. If I had listened, oh, I wouldn't be here today, living and dying with the choices I've made. I was tempted at an early age. I found I like sinning. Oh, and I never turned it down. There were loved ones, but I turned them all away, living and dying with the choices I've made. I've had choices from the day when I was born. There were voices that told me right from wrong. If I had listened, oh, I'd turn them all away, living and dying with the choices I've made. Guess I'm paying for the things that I have done. If I could go back, oh Lord, you know I'd run. I'm still losing this game of life I play, living and dying with the choices I've made. I've had choices from the day that I was born. There were voices that told me right from wrong. If I had listened, oh, I wouldn't be here today, living and dying with the choices I've made. Living and dying with the choices I've made.
Praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Randy, come on over and sit down. And welcome to Are You Ready? Are you ready for the Lord? And Randy, that's one of the choices we all want to make.
Amen.
And amen, right?
Yeah.
And that's what this show, quite frankly, is all about today. Because it's choices in America. And one of the things the founding fathers did for all of us was gave us the right, the original right given to us by God, and that is to make choices. And in our country, one of the nicest things is we have a system of government that's covered by the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the Constitution of the United States of America as drafted by our forefathers and amended by our leaders. And that Constitution gives us the right to hold elections free and clear and vote our conscience for whom we wish to vote for. And that's what this show today is about. The election coming up, which is in November the 5th of this year. And there's nobody better to talk about elections and the choices we have on a ballot than our county clerk and our circuit clerk. And I know that because years ago, for Martha Lane Collins, I was her and Dr. Floyd Poor's Deputy Secretary of Transportation and Commissioner of Motor Vehicles for the state of Kentucky or the Commonwealth. And we worked with all the county clerks and the circuit clerks. And they are two of the hardest working individuals that you will ever meet. When you go to talk to your county clerk and or your circuit clerk, I want to assure you of one thing out there before we even introduce these two fellas, that they earn every dime they make because they work day and night, and they have staff that do the same thing. And I know because I'm in and out of their offices many times, and I watch them in the work that they do. And I can tell you, they are truly public servants. And two of those public servants we have with us today. We have David Martin, who happens to be the circuit clerk in Boone County. And then we have Justin Krigler, who happens to be the county clerk in Boone County. Now, first of all, I'm going to ask David to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his background. Do you mind doing that, David?
Sure. Well, first of all, John, thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's always good to see you and catch up with you. And I'm originally from Campbell County. I grew up in the northern part of Campbell County in Newport. Went to Northern Kentucky University and got involved with politics a little bit there. And eventually ended up living in Wilder and served 3 terms on the city council there. And in my 3rd term, I met my then girlfriend, now wife, Cindy, and she's involved in government out here in Boone County, and things were getting serious. And she said, "Well, David, if you want to tie the knot, I'm not coming to Campbell County. You're going to have to come to Boone County."
Praise the Lord.
So I didn't run again for that office, and I traveled across the Licking River and landed here in Boone County, and I'll tell you, it's been wonderful ever since. After leaving the city of Wilder, I really enjoyed my time there in local government and really have an opportunity to see the fruits of your labor. When you're involved with city government, you're closest to the people. And so I really loved my time there. And so I took an opportunity with the city of Union to be their city administrator. They had a new administration coming in, and so I was fortunate enough to be hired there and to be involved in some of the commercial and residential development that they have that we're seeing even here today. And that was a great experience. And soon after, there was an opportunity to run for this office that I'm in now, the circuit court clerk. And after a lot of prayer, a lot of consulting with friends and family, I decided to put my name in the hat for that last year. And I was fortunate to be elected in the May primary last year by the good citizens of Boone County. And again, very thankful. There's just a lot of good things happening in Boone County. You can look at it with just the road construction. I know it can be very aggravating and frustrating, but that's just a part of progress. And a lot of development, commercial and residential. So it's just a good place to be. It's a good time to be here in Northern Kentucky. And again, I'm just thankful and feel blessed to be in the position serving the citizens of Boone County every day. I live in Hebron with my wife Cindy and our 3 children, Natalie, Lucas, and Audrey. And outside of work, they keep us very busy as well. So
I'm sure.
But it's a good time. It's really good. And again, I'm thankful to be here, John, and thankful to be serving the citizens of Boone County.
Fantastic. Now, I know a little bit about the Krigler name. You've got a lot to live up to, Justin.
I do.
Not only that, of course, you know you're filling the bootsteps of Kenny Brown also.
I do.
And you know I sang many times for Kenny Brown.
I know you did. You sang for David and I both, so we appreciate that. So,
well, I always tell somebody when I come to sing for you,
Yeah.
It might get you a few votes and it might cost you a few votes.
I think it helps us.
I do indeed.
Well, we have fun anyway. We lift up the spirits. But now I want you to, Justin, since you're new and this is your first time in politics in this sense.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your background and what got you to run for the office first here before we'll talk about the office and duties later.
Well, first of all, like David, want to thank you for having me here and for all you do for the community. I am Justin Krigler. I am currently the Boone County Clerk. I was appointed this year in March, filling the big shoes, as you said, of the late Kenny Brown. Kenny did a great job, and I hope to continue that legacy on. I'm pretty much a Boone County citizen my entire life. I went to Highlands High School, which is not in Boone County, which is in Campbell County. I went to college in Florida at Warner University. After that, I went to Chase Law School, graduated from there in 2000. From there, I decided to try and get into public service. I worked at the county attorney's office for 10 years, and then I stepped away to do a little bit of private industry, and I came back for 2. During that time frame, I was elected Boone County Magistrate, which is basically the justice of the peace. I did that for 4 years.
So public service was very important to me. As you talked about earlier, the footsteps of my family. My father, Larry Krigler, was the county attorney. My grandfather before him was also the county attorney. So it's always been instilled upon me, the public service, how important it is. So I've continued to hopefully live in their large shadow, but I hope to make my own mark as well. I am on the ballot this November. After being appointed, I also was then put on the ballot by the Republican Executive Committee. They chose me to be the nominee. So not only was I appointed, but the Republican Party chose me as well. The election is November 5th. Clearly, I would appreciate anybody's vote and support. But otherwise, Boone County, as David illustrated, is a tremendous county. I'm honored to be the county clerk and would like to continue for a long time.
Well, I have no doubt that that'll be the case myself, Randy. Of course, you said the magic word, for Miss June. You know what that was, don't you? You went to Highlands High School. Everybody knows that Miss June went to Highlands High School. And of course, I went to Simon Kenton High School. And of course, we've always played sports, when I was an athlete in high school, running fastest in high school, running the 100, 220, 440. Right now, the only thing about me that'll run will be my mouth. But anyway, June went to Highlands. But I happened to see, and I'll release this news today, that Simon Kenton was rated in the new test scores all across the state of Kentucky as being a four-star school, as Highlands is a 4-star school. So, praise the Lord for Simon Kenton. My old alma mater. And class of 61, and by the way, we're gonna have a meeting somewhere. June wrote that down for me. I've got it in here somewhere.
Right here.
Only right there, Simon Kenton class of 1961 class lunch, October the 17th, Old Kenton County Library over on Taylor Mill at the El Grande restaurant. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because J.B. Losey, one of our teachers at Simon Kenton, who's still alive, and if there's any others out there alive, come as my guest to this gathering here on October the 17th. Our class started something I think really sort of neat. We go once a month to a different restaurant around northern Kentucky.
Nice.
And we gather there and talk about things that need to be done in the community and about life in general. And we pray there about things. And so that's my little plug for Simon Kenton that I got in there, Miss June. Miss June says, how are you gonna work that in there? And I said, something will happen that'll give me an opportunity.
There you go.
And of course, she's always very proud, and she's coming up on her 50th year graduation celebration. So that'll be coming up in 2020, I think, is what she told me. And I'm glad they're proud of that, and Beechwood's proud.
Sure.
And when you don't get to be in those top schools for nothing. But we all have to remember, education is something that every student needs an opportunity. You need an opportunity. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in government overall. But I want to go into now the role of these offices and what happens during the election. Because this is an extremely important process in our democracy. And unfortunately, we do not have the participation in either registering or voting that we should have in a democracy. It's a responsibility that all of us, every walk of life, every human being that's able to, ought to go vote. If not by absentee ballot, then in person, and participate, because that helps the democracy function properly. And as a government teacher, which is what I was, advanced government, I can assure you that it's one of the most important things you can do in life, and it is a godly principle thing also. We'll talk to Randy a little bit about that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about the office itself. What are some of the duties of the county clerk's office, Justin?
Okay. The main functions of our office are, as you talked about earlier, voting, anything voting, whether registering to vote, the elections itself, absentee ballots. So that's one major function of our office. The second is car registration with titles, We do boat registration, motor vehicle, any kind of motorcycle, campers, things like that. And lastly, we do the record department, if you will, which would be deeds, mortgages, encumbrances, anything like that, as well as marriage license through that department as well. So those are the major functions of our office, but as you said, voting, especially this time of year, is so very important. We also try and get as many poll workers as possible, so I'm gonna make a plug for that. Anybody who would like to be a poll worker, please call my office, because we're always in need of those, and it's a tremendously important function in voting today.
Fantastic. We'll make mention of your email address probably at the end of the show here. In other words, what Justin is saying is that the county clerk's office touches every citizen's life in several different ways. Registering to vote, getting your car licensed, getting a marriage license. Anything you do that involves the government in any minutiae way is touched most of the time by your county clerk in various different things that he is responsible for. And that's the reason I say you will not find anybody working harder than these two gentlemen and their staffs, which are to be complimented. And I know sometimes we get frustrated when we have to stand in lines and wait for things to get done, but we all have to make sure that the system functions properly. And that's part of what they try to do with the staff, the limited staff that they do have. Is that right, Justin? What I'm saying then?
Yeah, I think the county clerk's office probably touches everybody's life in some way, because at one point in your life, you're probably gonna most likely own a car, have a piece of property, get married, vote. So I would say on a daily basis, we do touch the lives of them more than any other office. Absolutely, you're correct.
Absolutely, and having been a real estate broker in Northern Kentucky this is my 50th year, fellas.
Wow.
50th year as a member of the Northern Kentucky Board of Realtors and the Kentucky Board of Realtors and the National Board of Realtors. And I'm honored that they honored me with being Realtor Emeritus of America a couple of years ago.
Congratulations.
And that was quite an honor, but I can tell you, every realtor deals with the county clerk's office on a regular basis, and having a county clerk and staff that's on top of things and protecting your property rights and everything else, all of that is very important in the transfer of properties with every sale that takes place, and they take place every day. So I commend you for all of that. So, and I can say firsthand that these two gentlemen are highly qualified, and their staffs are highly qualified, and it is not an easy job. Now, the county clerk is elected for a 4-year term.
Yes.
Okay, now let's go right now then to the circuit clerk. What are the different variations that you do in the circuit clerk? Because this is when, well, sometimes it's when you get in trouble.
Yes.
Sometimes when you want to use the legal processes that we have in a democracy, you use the circuit clerk's office. Explain some of that to us, David.
Sure. So we are, most people, when I was running last year, I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people, and I told them a lot of people are not familiar with various agencies within local government. We are a state agency. We're under the judicial branch in the court system. We're the administrative function inside of the court system. So we're a state office, whereas the county clerk is a county office. And so we process all the pending documents throughout all the various courts. We have district court, circuit court, and then family court, which is a division within circuit court. So we process close to 30,000 cases a year right now, and that will continue to grow just because of the growth in our county. One of our main functions, though, we are the official keeper of the record for the courthouse, whereas in the county clerk, I know that's the same with the land records and various records that go along with that. Yes, unfortunately, a lot of times most people that come to the courthouse, it's due to issues, problems, and where they're having to interact with the justice system. There's only really two things that bring people to the courthouse where it's a good thing, where people are usually smiling and they're happy, and those are for adoptions or when somebody's getting a license. And outside of that, it's usually folks that are again having to deal with the court system because they're in some kind of trouble or their relative is, and they're there to help them. So We work hard every day. We have I'm very fortunate, very blessed to have like you said, a highly qualified staff that work hard to help people navigate through the process and get them in. My goal and our goal as an office is to help people conduct their business, get them in and get them out so they can go on with their lives and with their day as quickly as possible. One of the main initiatives, and I'm very fortunate, I was asked by our Chief Justice John Minton to serve on a committee, the Electronic Case Record Committee. We're looking at trying to digitize more and more the court system here in Kentucky. The federal courts are already doing it, basically trying to get more documents online and make the access to justice for the public, for the people that are engaging with the justice system, making it more accessible for them, utilizing the latest technology. So I'm serving on that committee. We're trying a lot of smart people on there, judges, prosecutors, public defenders, and I was one of 2 clerks in the state to be asked to serve on that committee. So we're trying to keep up with the times, utilize technology, and again, just make the process of conducting business at the courthouse as efficient and productive as possible. So those are the main functions: is processing the documents. We're the official record keeper. Of course, we have the driver's license where we work with the Department of Transportation. We issue those, the state IDs and driver's license and CDLs for folks in our residents in our county.
Fantastic. Now, you also have, somebody might ask, well, why do we have 2 folks on from Boone County? Well, the last elections that we covered, we had Ms. Sumi on from Kenton County, and Mr. Larson, I think it was?
Yeah,
on from Campbell County, and we had, I believe it's Tabitha from down in Grant County. And so I thought this time we'd get somebody from Boone County, and John Middleton, we tried to get him too, didn't we?
Yeah,
but he's had another commitment. But since John's got a lot of experience in this job and does a great job in Kenton County,
he does,
and has served across the state with the circuit clerks in positions. Do you all get a chance to talk to your counterparts every once in a while from other counties?
Yes, I do. We talk regularly. We shoot out emails with questions and concerns. We kind of have a group email that goes across the state to all our counterparts in Kentucky and all 120 counties. In our Circuit Clerks Association, we meet and have a spring conference and a fall conference. And our fall conference is actually next week in Lexington. So that's a great opportunity for all of us to get together, and we learn some of the new things that we're going to be involved with in the future, and of course bounce ideas and off each other and just try to learn. And so it's a good way just to engage, and so we do that on a regular basis. And of course, at other types of committee meetings and different things, we see each other. So I think it's a very important. It's been I've only been in this role less than a year, but it's been a very valuable tool and resource for me as I'm learning more and more about the clerk's office.
That's fantastic, and I imagine that it also gives you an opportunity when you're talking to your other cohorts in the counties to see if there's any particular legislation
Oh, yes.
that needs to be passed, and then that's one of the things where our Northern Kentucky caucus comes in, I would think.
Yes.
Your all's particular senators would be Senator Schenkel, and do you have another
No,
senator?
not in Boone County. He's covers
all of Boone County.
We have we have 5 reps that touch Boone County and 5 state representatives. So we have a pretty strong delegation all across Northern Kentucky. We just have a great team.
And you can go to them with any particular legislation, because as the system changes,
Yes.
as times change, as the environment changes, and new things occur, there comes a time when you might need to have legislation, and it's important to have that contact with those state reps and state senators, as well as your local officials like your mayors and your city councils, right?
Absolutely.
So it's a cooperative job, isn't it?
Yeah, in fact, within our Clerks Association, we have various committees for different things, and we have a legislative committee, and I'm on that committee. So what happens is, during the legislative session every year, we watch closely bills that come through, bills that are filed, and anything that's affecting our office, we watch closely, and if we feel like there need to be some changes, or we need to weigh in and give our feedback on how those potential laws or changes can affect our offices. So we watch these things closely, because we you know, we wanna make sure that, again, our officers are running as efficiently as possible, and we don't want any legislation that may affect that, getting in the way. So we are heavily involved with the legislative process during the session.
Now, in a nutshell, we have the election and the election process as in the counties, and then you have the state elections. And this year is one of the big things, is state elections, right? What we call our constitutional offices. I happened to hold one of those back years ago as superintendent of education for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. In fact, from Northern Kentucky, the first person elected to any of the constitutional offices in over 70 years. And so I was proud to break the ice there. Trey Grayson came later and won and served and did an admirable job, by the way, I think. And but one of the things you learn is that this is a wide state.
Yes.
And when you travel through all 120 counties, as many times as I have, 5 times, you learn a lot about the geography of the state, about the economics of the state, the people of the state, and quite frankly, you learn a lot about godly principles in the state. And Kentucky, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, is a state, I think I can safely say, is a state of godly principles with our Constitution and with our forefathers here in Kentucky. And I just want to ask Randy, voting, and as I say this as a government teacher, one of the things I tried to emphasize to my students, 2 of them went on to be, quite frankly, very active in politics, for sure, maybe the others too. But Marcus Carey was one of my students when I taught, and an excellent student, I might say, and went on to be chairman of the Republican Party. And Harry Rankin was one of my students who went on to be chairman of the Democratic Party and served in great capacities. And I tried to teach them government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and that the party that they belonged to was for them to figure out how that party fit into their lives and what they saw that party presenting as positions. Why though, Randy, you as a minister for 30 years, one of the greatest churches in Northern Kentucky and the Commonwealth, you're going to celebrate 175 years this year at this coming Sunday. First of all, when's that going to be, and what's the time of the service?
Well, let's see, we've got, of course, Sunday school at 9:45. Morning worship will be at 11. Brother Calvin Perry, who grew up in our church, is going to deliver the message that morning. And then we've got a meal, dinner on the grounds right after. About 2 o'clock, then we have a mainly musical service, but a lot of the folks from the past will be back. But have them coming from Atlanta and all over.
That'll be fantastic. And now coming back to that meal, Randy, this is a Baptist church, isn't it?
You know what we're gonna have. Gospel bird, chicken and cook.
I don't look like I've missed many Baptist meals, do I? I always tell everybody what Wendell Ford once told me. John, being Baptist won't stop you from sinning, but it'll stop you from enjoying it. I've been enjoying it probably a little too much. So, but that'll be a great day out there. Well, I'm looking forward to it too, and I'm looking forward to coming and filming it. And of course, my brother was a deacon out there for many, many years. Gerald Stephenson, who's down at Providence Pavilion right now, wonderful brother, and his wife Dorothy are down there, and they're together now at the same place. Although their memories are short-termed, and but they're there together. at the Providence Pavilion, and thank goodness their son Todd Stevenson does a great job. And the other two boys who are out of town most of the time, helping how they can. And it's an honor though that he was a part of your all's church, and I know you love Gerald. And Gerald sang with us, our group, the Whosoever Will group, to all the nursing homes across Cincinnati, northern Kentucky, and Lexington and Louisville, didn't we, Randy? For years and years and years. And that was a great thing that we enjoyed, and you and I still go to the homeless shelter every fourth Friday. We was down there the other night, wasn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, mercy, we had a great time. You know, 30, 40 men down there, right?
Absolutely.
At least. And Fairhaven Rescue Mission, they do a great job. June sent in a little contribution the other night. I encourage everybody to take something like that in life and make a little contribution to it to lift people up. As my mom used to say, give a lift to your fellow mans. But now, why scripturally is it important for people to vote, people of faith, Randy?
Well, I think, of course, first of all, you know, as a Christian and as a government teacher, you know that our form of government, the founding fathers, we had a lot of influences, in all fairness. I mean, the Cherokee Nation, but also scriptural. In Isaiah 33, verse 22, you know, when you look at it, you have attributed to God basically our three branches of government. The judicial, the legislative, the executive are all mentioned in that one verse. And that, historically, is a well-known fact, that was influenced our founding fathers.
Absolutely.
We, as Christians, are a segment of society. It's not just Christians, all of us need to get out and vote. As Christians, we've got a kind of a different outlook and a perspective on it, but a lot of Christians don't know this. Romans chapter 13, first 7 verses, I had the privilege of sharing that with a city council down in Brazil. And some on that city council were Christians, some were animists and spiritists. But I had 10 minutes exactly to share this with them, and I told them, I said, I want you to know something. I'm praying for you because you are a minister of God. And Romans 13, 1 through 7 clearly says it. So all the powers that be are ordained of God. The very first verse, Romans 13, 1. And as such, that's a ministry role. It's a different ministry than a preacher or an evangelist or a missionary, but it's a role in which our public servants will be accountable before God. I think we do them an injustice if we don't let them know that. And whether they believe or not, that's inconsequential. You need to know this is what the Bible says. And as such, we need to be faithful. We need to be good citizens. If anybody ought to be a citizen, that ought to be a Christian. And in those few times that we disagree, we need to do it in the spirit of love. But above everything else, like anybody else, any segment, if we want our voices known, and if we don't go to vote, we have no right to complain at all. We need to vote. We need to vote our convictions, as does every other segment of society. But from our perspective, we need to vote our convictions knowing that those that we place in these positions are ministers, and we need to respect them as much and pray for them as much.
Absolutely. Now you know why I wanted to tell you about their 175th year anniversary out there at Oak Ridge Baptist. Come on out and enjoy a good day, a good service. Come and listen. Sunday school class for your kids. I went through Sunday school classes all my life. And in fact, my mom was a church pianist in a little one-room Baptist church out in Kenton Station. And where they had to separate the rooms off by curtains running across with wires. And we would have Sunday school and have Bible reading classes and Bible speed classes to see how quick and fast you could look up certain scriptures. You knew the Bible backwards and frontwards. And I can never forget, as a young boy, probably about 13, my sister was probably about 8, Walter Roden, John Grizzell, Vernon Likens, and Carl Covey were 4 deacons. And the minister was Brother Kerger, and his wife's name was Polly. And that was in 1956. They took us kids on an old rickety church bus, Justin, down to Louisville, Kentucky. And there in Louisville, on that trip all the way down there, we met a man by the name of Billy Graham. And the first crusade that he had in the new stadium in Louisville in 1956. Just so happened one of my best friends today, Gil Hammond, who owns a Christian radio station, and his wife Jan, Gil was at that same event. And we didn't know it, of course, but he was there. And it was at that event that I learned to sing the song, I'd Rather Have Jesus and How Great Thou Art, because a fellow named George Beverly Shea sang them. And Cliff Barrows led the choir, and Billy Graham preached a sermon that would be very fitting today. And one of the reasons it would be very fitting today is because of all the strife and turmoil that you all have to listen to, I know, in your offices, and be neutral, I know. But still, all the strife and turmoil that every minister is facing and every family is facing today in our country is because of the growth of our country. And I can tell you, as exactly as a sociology teacher and government teacher, part of the problem is the technology has advanced so fast on where we get our communications and how we get our communications through so many different places, that the strife is so fast, it's more than people can actually absorb. And so what Billy Graham preached on that day in 1956 is so appropriate for today, because he said, it's the Holy Spirit's job to convict. It's God's job to judge. It's our job to love. The greatest gift he gave us is the gift of love. And even if you disagree with somebody, which I do on Facebook quite often, or they disagree with me, you know, hey, friend me on Facebook. Tell me what you think. But they do disagree, and I tell them I love them, but I don't agree with them. I don't agree, but that don't mean we have to be disagreeable. But that today is the division and divisiveness. What we have done with this Constitution has put the fate of the entire nation within its ability to obey the Ten Commandments. James Madison. Those things we need to remember. History is the light to our future. Now we're going to see different candidates on the ballots, and we're going to hear a lot of advertisement about this is one is that one, and this one is that one, and that's okay. Put your best foot out there, do your advertising, and raise the funds you need to do that. My last race, David, was just 2010, and I ran for United States Senator, not as a Democrat, but as a Republican. And although I had run all the other times in my life as a Democrat, I think I'm the only living Kentuckian that's run statewide, both as a Democrat and then as a Republican. And for a while I was an independent. June said I was just confused. Of course, I can't say anything negative about June. You know, she's running the machines in there. She cut us off the air. But we got a group running now, and I want both of you to sort of tell us about what officers are on the ballot now, because it's the statewide positions, right?
For the most part, I'll start with that part. On the ballot, which we said the election is November 5th, we have the governor's race, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, the Auditor of Public Accounts, the State Treasurer, and the Commissioner of Agriculture. Those are all the statewide races. But we also in Boone County have a few local races. We have the 63rd state rep race, my race, which is county clerk race, and we have a school board election, but that person is unopposed. So those are what are on the ballot on November 5th.
On the November the 5th.
Yes, sir.
Now, I want to give credit here to the Northern Kentucky Tribune, Judy Claves and Gene Claves newspaper, and the River City News also. They came out with their newspaper this week, and Judy Claves and Gene Claves and the group there sent me a copy of their paper. And they did a superb job of covering the news and all of the races. And they gave you a list of who was running for what statewide, about their backgrounds that they had put together. And in fact, I was with some of the candidates the other night at the great event, the Northern Kentucky Right to Life, annual, I think it was the 45th annual gathering of Right to Life, which I firmly believe in as a Christian and as a human being, frankly, you know. And so Governor Matt Bevin was there and spoke, did a magnificent job, and Lieutenant Governor Alvarado. You know, I had not met him personally before. I'd seen him before, but I had not met him. But when he spoke there the other night, I have to say, I went up and told him, I said, you know something, I really liked the other lieutenant governor candidate that Matt Bevin had, but I can see now why he made the choice change, because Senator Alvarado, a doctor and senator, and his speech was just superb. Just off the cuff speech, superb.
Sure.
And so I was very impressed with him. I told him so. And then of course, State Representative, I believe
Savannah Maddox
gave an excellent overview of what the legislature is doing in reference to right to life and other issues. And then you had Congressman Thomas Massey. Now Congressman Massey, he can be a little touchy at times, controversial. But you have to say, I really love the guy because he's had a tremendous amount of integrity, Randy. This is a guy that, if he's the only vote, if he believes it, he'll vote that way. And
he's very principled.
Very principled. Reminds me a lot of my old boss, John Breckinridge. I was in Washington, D.C. with Congressman John Breckinridge, and I helped run his original campaign back in, I guess that was in the early 70s. And he had been Attorney General, and I was a student over at the University of Kentucky and staying in the Breckinridge dorm. Well, I happened to run into him by accident, and we introduced ourselves to each other, and I said, from that day on, we become best of friends. And he called me up and said, will you help me run my campaign? And I said, for Congress? And I said, yeah. So he won, and I became his administrative assistant or field representative, and loved working for him. But you know something? I didn't agree with him on everything, but you could lay your head down at night and know he was voting what he thought was right for the Commonwealth and the country. And that was an amazing feat to watch a man operate like that.
Sure.
Reminded me of Burt T. Combs from down in Eastern Kentucky, former federal judge and governor. Honest as the day is long. He always told me, he said, John, you know, I can't tell the difference between a good governor and a bad governor. And I said, how's that, sir? He said, a good governor controls the fat cats. A bad governor is controlled by the fat cats. I said, that's a good point.
Sure is.
Now, some of these people that are on the ballot, do we know who our current office holders are in the different positions? Do you know what the statewide positions?
So you have the majority of these statewide positions, they're incumbents who are running here in Kentucky.
You serve 2 terms,
You
can't you?
can serve up to 2 terms on the constitutional offices. So of course, Matt Bevin, who we're heading towards the end of his first term, he's running for re-election. The Secretary of State has the last 2 cycles or last 2 terms has been Allison Lonergan Grimes, and so she's termed out. So you have 2 challengers on there, Michael G. Adams and Heather French Henry. So they're running for Secretary of State. And then you have Attorney General, the current Attorney General. He's winding down his first term, but he's running for governor against Matt Bevin. So that's an open seat. You have Daniel Cameron, a young attorney, and Greg Stumbo. I believe he served 1 term as Attorney General several years ago, and he was in the House of Representatives for several years. So from that race, you have 2 challengers, and then the Auditor of Public Accounts, Mike Harmon, who's currently the auditor. He's running for a 2nd term, and he's a great guy. I believe he's doing a good job. State Treasurer Allison Ball, she's terrific. I actually worked on her campaign 4 years ago. She's running for a 2nd term. She's very principled, a woman of faith, and I think she's doing a great job. But she's running for another term. And then Commissioner of Agriculture Ryan Quarles, he's running for a 2nd term as well. He's doing a really good job. And then the state rep seat that was mentioned earlier, there's an open seat. We had Diane St. Ange, and that's 63rd district. That district encompasses mostly Kenton County, but there's a handful of precincts in Boone County. So in those precincts, this race will be on that ballot. So Diane St. Ange got married and they're moving out west, and so she resigned from her seat earlier this year. I believe it's just back in August, I think.
Cause she was just reelected, wasn't she?
She was just reelected last year, and, so then she ended up resigning, and, because she's moving, and so that created a special seat.
Special seat there.
Yeah, special election, and so it was put on the ballot, and it will be on there with these statewide offices.
I remember singing for her election.
Yeah, yeah,
And I told June, I said, well, I surely hope my singing didn't have anything to do with her leaving office.
No, I think she's leaving for love.
She's leaving for love, and she's going to California, I understand.
Yeah, I think she's still gonna keep a residence here in Northern
Oh,
Kentucky,
good.
from what I'm hearing.
Nice lady.
She is,
Nice lady.
she's done a great job.
Of course, one of my favorites, I had to say this, Kim Mosier.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Her husband saved my life, you know something. There's something about somebody saving your life, you don't forget them, Randy.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
Laying on the table in the surgical room and with a double blood clot over both lungs, they call it a saddle clot. He walks into the room and said, John, I said, Doc, you better get in here, your wife's gonna lose a vote. So, anyway, I lived through that.
Sure.
I'm still out here yakking
Yeah.
and singing. And, now, is there anything else you all wanna add about any of the offices or anything? Anything in particular? Now, I wanna say one thing real quick. Now, this is just me. Shouldn't these guys, I'm gonna get them in trouble. It's just me. Senator Mitch McConnell and Senator Rand Paul are two of the best senators in the country, not just in Kentucky, but in the country. They are different. They react to different things, but they are patriots. I'm telling you, they're patriots, standing up for the Constitution of the United States of America and godly principles. And I've watched them. A long time ago, I wasn't much of a fan of Senator McConnell. But you know, when I've watched him work since he's been majority leader, he's been superb in supporting the president and the vice president. And so is Thomas Massey and our other Republican delegation. I just really feel strongly that we need to remember those people that take on those controversial jobs and do them with dignity, not ranting and raving, but just straightforward honesty and integrity. And I'd have to say that I've watched him and I really feel that he has done that. Governor Bevan, a very outspoken, extremely intelligent man, but I'll tell you one thing, he's got Kentucky in his heart. Kentucky in his heart, and so does Rand Paul. Now, I debate a lot of that on Facebook and YouTube and other places, but that's just how I feel. You guys have anything else you want to say about the elections at all, that we're not talking about, or we've missed?
Well, I just, just to kind of follow up to what you said earlier about voting being a right, and it truly is a privilege. What you said, you can't complain if you don't vote. And, we live in an information age where we can get a lot of information in a very short period of time with these mobile devices. And so I encourage people to really research the candidates and find out find the candidate that goes along with your values. And in all these races, we have choices. We have choices of who we want to vote for. And I just want to encourage people to make sure that they exercise that right to get out and vote and get the information you need to make a very good informed choice. Also, my good friend Justin here, I'm gonna make a plug here for him. He took over the office in a time when we had the untimely passing of our former clerk, Kenny Brown. A lot of emotions going throughout the office, and so he took the reins of that office at the end of March of this year, and I'll tell you, he's done a phenomenal job. And I talked to a lot of people in the community, and I've heard nothing but positive feedback. He's kept up with the customer service. He came in right just a couple months before the primary election this year, and they didn't miss a beat. And so I encourage you to consider Justin Krigler. He's on the ballot on November 5th. He's doing a phenomenal job. And I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. So I appreciate all you do, Justin. And
Thanks for the kind words, and I appreciate that.
Well, I echo it 100%. I do my own research on candidates and backgrounds, I'd study a lot about candidates before I stick my neck out there and say, this is somebody I recommend to you. And you two fellows are really, really solid recommendations.
Thank you.
And I've tried to give you my personal thoughts as a government teacher. And, Miss June teaches a Bible study class right now. It's still open. She got 36 ladies coming now. 36 ladies coming to the Bible study class over at Bethesda Community Church over on 536 Mount Zion Road. Second Monday of every month at 6:30 in the evening, and second Tuesday of every month, right the next Tuesday at 10 o'clock for the daytime folks. Sign up, send her an email, call her on the phone, call me, call the church. Come to that class called Experiencing God by Henry Blackaby, facilitated by June Guyman Stevenson, and which was the smartest move I made. And so I'm going to close off today, but before I do, I want to tell you that this is the Northern Kentucky Tribune, and I normally don't plug media, but Judy Claves and Gene Claves and Mike Farrell, who went on to heaven, started this newspaper. It's all online, except for occasional publications like this. And this is a publication that if you pick it up or go online and look at it, you can learn all about the backgrounds of all the candidates running for statewide office and all the other issues, as well as many other things. Key people who are going places in Northern Kentucky. It's very well prepared, very well written, and something that everybody should pick up. Either that, and even the River City News or your local newspapers, the Kentucky Enquirer. We don't have the Kentucky Post anymore, and I sorely miss it. I mean, they said some good things about me and some bad things, but that's okay. I've been both good and bad, haven't I, Randy? We all sin, don't we? Only Jesus was perfect. Randy known me 30 years. He had to grab me by the nape of the neck every once in a while to straighten me out. And but Randy, I'd like to close up today, particularly since these are state elections, with something I've done in every single county in the state of Kentucky, and that is sing my old Kentucky home. You want to play along with me, Randy? I think you can follow me. Now, sometimes I'm a little hard to follow, Randy. Happy Chandler taught me to sing this song. And when I ran on the ticket with Brereton Jones and Ben Chandler for Paul Patton, Governor Jones, who just received a big award down in Lexington from the Horse Breeders Association for his outstanding service with his farm, asked me to sing this song at every campaign stop we went to, for the whole ticket. And I was honored to do so. Honored because I was from Northern Kentucky, and I was trying to do something for Northern Kentucky that had not been done. And I recognized the fact, as a little boy, we can always do more. Give a lift up to your fellow man. Give a lift to your fellow man and love, the greatest gift that God gave us. And the psalm is all about that. United we stand and divided we fall. Oh, the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the children at play. The corn tops ripe and the meadows are in bloom, and the birds make music all the day. Oh, the children roll on the little cabin floor, all merry, all happy and bright. knocking at the door. Then my old Kentucky home says goodnight. Weep no more, my ladies. Oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home. For my old Kentucky home. Far away. God bless America. God bless Kentucky. And God bless these two fine gentlemen right here, David Martin and Justin Krigler, and all the other candidates from all parties that have put themselves on the line to be public servants for the people and public servants for the Lord. Thank you for watching us here. John Stephenson, the old country boy, here at Are You Ready? Are you ready for the Lord?